What's the last film that you feel like you've watched that was like an absolute gem?
That's a good question. I started watching it also again on the airplane on my 51-minute ride in the center seat over here.
Row 30.
Yeah, row 30 seat B. But it was Hail Mary or the Hail Mary.
Okay,
it's
I don't think I've seen
Ryan Gosling. It's a sort of a space odyssey, if you will, but like a humorous one.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cute. It's very cute. It makes you feel good. It's fun. He's just a funny guy. I enjoy him a lot.
He is. Well, you made it over here after a little bit of travel fiasco, so I'm glad you're here.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, for those of you who don't know, I'm sitting with Anthony Azar, who I have the pleasure of calling you a partner in business, and I've learned a lot from you over the last couple of years, and your diverse experience and conversations that we've had, and so I'm excited to spend some time with you and help some people that are in our world and outside our world get to know the man behind the scenes.
That's kind of you. Feeling is absolutely mutual.
Oh, I
very much
that.
appreciate our partnership.
Well, I guess let's start back like a little bit at the beginning. I mean, where you come from, and where'd you kind of cut your chops in business? Give me kind of a lay of the land.
Excuse my voice. I don't usually talk early in the morning. So born and raised in El Paso, Texas, and in an entrepreneurial family, much like yourself, I learned. My dad and his brothers bought the nut business. We were in the edible nut business.
Okay.
It was actually
like peanuts and pistachios.
Exactly. The full array. It was just a confection shop at the time. My grandfather, who was an immigrant, barely spoke the language, but an entrepreneur himself. He developed this little business, and it was primarily a confection shop. He wholesaled pecans during the holiday season to Fort Bliss, which is there in El Paso. My dad, his brothers served in World War II. They came home. They did a variety of things. They bought that business, and my dad primarily, because he was the CEO and the principal owner, turned it into one of the largest processor and distributors of nut meat products, over 90 million pounds a year of nut meat products distributed. And I got the pleasure, truly, of working in the nut factory.
Okay.
Endless amount of jokes can be told at my expense. Starting when I was 12, every bit of income every bit of money that I spent just on frivolous stuff, I had to earn, and that was sort of the way he operated.
So I know nothing about the nut business.
Yeah.
And just all the industry around that. So this is probably a really ignorant question, but when you say confection, like what do you mean by
candy?
Okay.
Yeah, all candy. Right. And coincidentally, we got back in before we sold the business again. When I say we, of course, I was a laborer, but we got back into candy in Mexico, in country of Mexico. We were manufacturing candy just because of world sugar prices. It's kind of the tariff regime and all that stuff. But
interesting.
So we were doing both nuts and candy.
Okay, and at the time that you sold, I mean, give me a sense of the scale, because when you say 90 million pounds, like I don't even know how to wrap my mind around that. Like maybe employees and like what did the company makeup look like for those of us who know nothing about this business?
Yeah, it was a very efficient, mostly automated operation, so it's not as big as you would think. I think we had maybe 300 people.
Okay.
And again, it was all in El Paso or Juarez, across the border from El Paso, and distributed all throughout the United States and Canada. Real concentration of distribution on the West Coast. Dominated California, Ralph's, Lucky's, Safeway stores, all that. That's sort of where we got our foothold. Yeah, I mean, and we sold that business in the late 80s.
How old were you?
I was maybe 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still a teenager.
Yeah, maybe 19, maybe 20. My dad asked me, "You want the business?" And I was like, "What? No, I can barely spell. No, you don't want me to run that business." So no, timing wasn't good, but he was ready to get out, and the business was it had gotten very perilous. The retail environment, as you may well know, shifted from being essentially privately held to being held by private equity and Wall Street. A lot of debt, and it's a very brutal environment, right? Mm-hmm. To sell to retailers, you've got to have real muscle.
Yeah.
And we were just getting out. We were a family business. We were getting out muscled by RGR Nabisco and Beatrice Foods, and people can throw a lot of money around.
Interesting.
So we sold the business to a guy named Carl Pohlad, and I mention him because I also went to work for him as a bird dog of sorts, finding financial institutions for him to buy and invest in.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that for a period of time. So
okay. Well, so 12 to 19, I mean, those are really impressionable years. I'm a dad to an 11-year-old. I can't imagine them jumping into an environment like that and being able to learn and see and watch. And you said, like, I worked hard for every dollar that I frivolously spent. So hard work and like work ethic was developed during those times. Like, what else did you learn either about your father's leadership, those other people around your dad? But I'm sure as the son of the person who owned it, you got a front row seat to a lot of conversations that probably 13, 14, 15-year-olds weren't getting. So what did you learn, would you say, during that phase of your career?
So much, honestly. The exposure I had to my dad's philosophy and work ethic from when, I could just remember sort of through osmosis. He didn't sit down and say, "Today we're going to learn about balance sheets." Like, but just through osmosis from 12 to when I left. We moved away from El Paso in 2002. So kind of for a lot of that time, I was, with the exception of college and working at a bank in Houston, I was working closely with him. I was helping him in what he was doing. And yeah, a work ethic for one. He worked 60 to 80 hours a week for 50 years, and he never took a week off. And he loved it. He did it because he loved it. He didn't. There came a point in time he didn't need to do it, but he did it because he loved it.
That's part of who he was.
That's who he was. He didn't have a separate social life from business life. He really elegantly, he and my mom elegantly wove just a really wonderful friend group from all over the world into their business life. And so they would travel all over the world, and they would meet, because, cashews come from India and Brazil nuts come from Brazil. And he just knew all these people and maintained really a high level relationship with them. Funny story I tell about my dad with me joining him is when I was probably 14, and we went and called on Safeway stores, which was owned by the McGowan family at the time. Okay. They were the largest retailer in the country. And we showed up an hour early, and I just was trailing him. I was sort of his assistant. I had a dolly of product, and I was wheeling it around behind him. And he probably talked to 30 different people in the offices, different floors of this. It was an old office complex. It was multi-story. He had friends from the receptionist all the way through the food chain, so to speak. Uh-huh. And we ended that hour tour on time at the CEO's office. And the CEO, you could tell everybody was rooting for him. They liked him, they trusted him, they were rooting for his success. It was great. Taught me a lot about really what it takes, sort of what it takes to truly be successful.
I think about the preparation, even just to arrive an hour early, to take time to navigate all of those floors and the lessons in that story that can be learned if you'll open your eyes enough at that age to actually experience them. So it's neat to see how that's kind of has left an indelible mark on you. So I'm sure there was a lot of a lot of resume between the nut factory and real estate. But obviously, the reason we find ourselves, in business together today is because at some point it turned into real estate. So tell me about how you got into the real estate business and why you made a move in that direction.
Yeah. As I mentioned, I was working after we were in contract manufacturing in Mexico, built and sold that in 98. And from 98 to 2002, I worked for this POLAD organization, helping them acquire or invest in financial services. Finances, my background, I did a lot of education in the financial world and a lot of curiosity about it. I was a banker.
Okay.
So I was drawn to financial services, and I was wanting to find a business that I could own and operate. And I was canvassing cities that we wanted to live in. And one of them was Tucson. And I met the Sullivan family, and they recruited me over to Tucson. They were in the process of buying a real estate brokerage, and they needed a partner who had financial capability to also lead the business and grow it, and then integrate financial services, what I call financial services, real estate services around that brokerage, title, mortgage, insurance, home warranty, etc. I had been a student of what home services was doing.
Okay.
And they were very effective at that sort of full integration for all the right reasons. I mean, right there, as an accommodation to the client, in support of the real estate agent, in support of their client, but also obviously far more resources available to do interesting things when you're in a variety of those businesses. So yeah, that's what got me into the real estate brokerage business. I was never an agent. I didn't list and sell, but I always paid very close attention to those that did, because they're the ones who really understand the consumer.
Well, that's one thing I've always thought about you, Anthony, is that you're very thoughtful about just things. We've been in several meetings together where I can just see you kind of sit back and you're just being thoughtful, right? And whereas my knee-jerk reaction is to fill that void with space, you're very good at, I'm just gonna think about this. Like I don't need to say anything right now. So the Sullivan family, I imagine, is pretty well known in Tucson.
Yeah, they were. I think Mr. Sullivan Sr. has passed away. Very excellent businessman. I think Tommy is retired, maybe, but I've lost contact with the family. They sold all that. They had First Magnus Financial, which unfortunately went under in 2007, but it was a big business. It was a $30 billion mortgage bank. They had Title Security, which is now owned by First American. So that continues to this day. They were good people, good operators.
Observing real estate agents over the years, and particularly towards the beginning, because what year was that?
That was 2002.
Okay, so 2002. So, I mean, you were observing through the run up to the financial crisis, and tell me about just I hadn't even thought about real estate agents at that point in my life. At that point, we'll just say young. I was very young. And so I'm just curious, like from your vantage point, not being, because I've talked to a lot of agents, Anthony, who they were in it during the run up. You're almost in this observation deck, needing to run a business and grow a business that's dependent on what they're doing in the business. Just tell me about that phase. Like what did you see during that phase of the economy?
Well, I think that there was a lot of hubris, and I was certainly not exempt from that. I thought I was a genius. But 2005, everything was working. We had a big mortgage company, our insurance company was working real well. Catalina Title, which is still around to this day, we had launched that and was doing very well. And the brokerage business was doing very well. Everybody was making money. Everybody was happy. It was a great time. right? 4 or 5, even part of 6. And what's interesting is that, in retrospect, you reflect and you go, there were things going on that just didn't make sense.
Like what?
Just it was highlighted very well. I forget the film's name that, covered
The Big Short?
The Big Short.
Yeah.
Like where, he's like, how many homes do you have? Like he's talking to, taxi drivers with, that have 5 investment properties, right? It wasn't making sense. It wasn't making sense. And, you look to your left and you look to your right, and everybody everybody seems to be okay. And you're like, well, I guess it doesn't make sense, but I guess maybe this is a new normal. And in retrospect, there were a lot of indications I should have paused and reflected. Big lesson from that time. A couple big lessons. Because, when it hit, it was falling knives. You could not get out from underneath it fast enough. We suffered terribly as a business. It was a very difficult time for the agents. That's why it was a difficult time for the business. And I as I reflect on it, there was 2 big mistakes. One is going into it, and then once we were in it, I was so focused on spending my time, energy, and money, finite resources that I had, on trying to restructure things and make it work, which is the right thing to do. But I did not pay attention to where the opportunities were as a result of this radical shift that had taken place. And some good people, but not titans or giants in industry, were just very openly just buying distressed property. And those people made hundreds of millions I literally know a couple guys who made hundreds of millions of dollars personally each. And here I am I see it, I know it's happening, and I don't allocate the time, energy, resources because I was so emotionally invested in the cycle, right? And I really wish that I had somebody, that I was smart enough to have a mentor holding me accountable, to be asking me the right questions so that I and those around me could have exploited that opportunity.
Seen the opportunity in the midst of the time and energy, because like you said, you weren't wrong in focusing on trying to save this thing for the good of everyone around you. But on this highway of opportunity, things are just passing you by.
Yes.
I'm curious. And I know you said there is two things. And I'm hoping you can hold on to that second one for a sec. I'm not asking you if the economy is going to melt down, but are there we just went through this insane period of time in the real estate industry again, from 2020 to 2023. Are there similarities? Like, when you have that hindsight, did you see similarities that carry into this phase of the economy and the housing market? Or if not, like, what's different about it?
Yeah, it's a good question. Structurally, very different, right? I think when you're talking about that run up into the financial crisis, that was just out and out fraud, right? That was primarily fraud, and everybody missed it, except a few guys, that highlighted in the movie, and the guys that I mentioned who exploited it after the fact. But it was just a lot of bad paper. It was mortgages that were never going to be serviced, right? And sold, repackaged and sold over and over and over again. And it became a global crisis. I think that I certainly don't consider myself an expert in the quality of mortgage-backed securities, but I think that there's a lot higher quality, just generally now, a lot less fraud generally now, a lot tighter controls. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, structurally, it's a very different thing.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So, what was that second lesson, if you held on to it?
No, I think it was. I had mentioned both of them. One was
Okay.
one was leading in just things that aren't making sense.
Oh, the leading in.
And continuing
Gotcha. Yep,
to
you're
sort
right.
of expand. Like we had 12 offices in Southern Arizona.
Oh, really? I didn't know there was
Hello.
12.
I mean, come on. That's not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
But it was like hockey stick. Everything's just going to keep going up, and not realizing that no, this party's got to end, and behaving as a business operator accordingly, right?
Yeah.
Staying focused on expenses and overhead, and not signing long-term leases in places I don't have a proven, just basics, blocking and tackling. And then, of course, what I talked about after when the hammer fell, there's a ton of opportunity.
Missing the opportunities.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, so you made it through.
Yep.
At least portions of the business. You
Yep.
mentioned that there was, a mortgage company that did unfortunately go down.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, the real estate business continued on. You get through it. Like what happened? What happened next?
Well, we tried to buy the franchisor. We were Realty Executives at the time. We tried to buy the Realty Executives franchisor based here in Phoenix. In the process, learned that they were not really, my opinion, a viable concern. And so once we failed at buying that business, we began to shop for another home for our agents. And I met with 11 different franchise organizations, and the last one, and that's not recency bias, it was a good reason we selected Keller Williams. It just was so different, so agent focused, philosophically exactly the way Kristen believes, you believe, I believe, that the real estate agent is and will continue to be the center of the real estate transaction. And that's the way Keller Williams, obviously, culturally, was designed. And I went to family reunion before we launched the Keller Williams in Southern Arizona, and I had never seen the kind of emotion, the kind of passion. Like I was really blown away. Not corporate. It was very real, very raw. Real estate agents that have had their lives changed because of the systems and models that Keller Williams brought them.
And we have been the beneficiary, and you were the beneficiary of, guiding the ship in that direction. And then, growing market share from there, and some of the biggest and brightest and best agents in Southern Arizona, and in all of Arizona, they originated out of that office.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that make you proud?
Very proud. Yeah, very proud. I think we've always conducted ourselves with integrity, and the old, expression, who you're in business with matters. And I don't have to tell you, it really does matter. It really does matter. And yeah.
Tell me a story. I'm curious. Tell me a story about culture. As leaders, we think about culture a lot, and clearly culture impacted your decision to even to convert, if you will, to Keller Williams at the time. And I always describe culture as what you feel when you walk into a room. Like when I walk into a room, when I cross through that doorway, I feel something. And that's the rawest way I can describe culture.
Yeah.
But how do you, as a leader, create culture that's sticky? Culture that, like, during that trip with your dad up to the CEO's office, causes people around you to root for the leader? What would you say about that?
Yeah, another very good question. Well, again, everything rises and falls on leadership. And John Maxwell's so right about that. And you and I have had a front row seat to see how Kristen's leadership finds its way into every nook and cranny of everything she's involved in, right? Because it's so authentic, it's so real, it's so genuine, it's so through and through. There's no lip service. all decisions go through that filtering criteria, right? And her filtering criteria is just as we spoke of, agents are the center of the transaction. And what can we do in support of the agents to service their clients at a higher level and grow their business in the process? And I would say that's very much the same lesson. There has to be authenticity to your leadership, especially in difficult times, right? Especially in difficult times, difficult situations, and I've been through a lot of them. People are watching, and whether they're consciously making decisions or subconsciously just observing and saying, I might not like that decision, but I sure respect it. And he did a good job of explaining why he made that decision. I saw that in my dad. I saw it in Kristen. See it in you. And I've certainly always tried to be that guy. Right? I've always tried to be that guy. I've learned it's exhausting to try to be liked. But to be respected is just a matter of having a real North Star and sticking with it.
I really resonate with what you just said about exhausting to try and be liked, and beyond exhausting, it can be life shattering. And I went through a very difficult experience when I turned 32 years old, but a lot of it I would attribute to that exhausting hamster wheel of trying to lead by being liked. And the human brain cannot keep up with that hamster wheel. It can't. And for me personally, it led to a lot of broken things, right? And what I'm thankful for is that I was in my early 30s to learn that, and hopefully grow and get better and stronger as a leader. But like for anyone who finds themselves leading from that vantage point, like the last 90 seconds of this show should be a wake-up call. Like, you need to ask yourself, in my opinion, why do I have such a craving to be liked, and what am I going to do about it? And some of it has to do, I think, with like your actual conviction to the mission of your organization, the vision that you have for where you're going. Like, if you're not really convinced in that, well, yeah, you're going to be a slave to this, like just being liked along the way. Right? But if you really believe it, then that allows, it doesn't make it easy, but it allows you a different filter and to stay tethered to that during hard times. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with it. And it's the only thing that's durable, again, is the trust you build, your reputation, by your actions over time, right? That's the proof in the pudding. And we've all seen, the real estate industry is not exempt from it, but it certainly has its fair share of flash in the pan, right? Yeah. My dad used to call them big noise, right? Big noise would come in and, really razzle dazzle, right? Yeah. And the next shiny thing. And I think most seasoned, most mature business people, real estate agents, that's what they are. They're in business. They're business people in business for themselves. Generally see through, especially now, after so many cycles of it, see through the fluff, see through the razzle dazzle, and go, I want to be in business with somebody who's principled, who is willing to do the difficult things because of their principles, and I can trust them. I can trust them with my business. I can trust them with my confidential information. I can trust them. And that's the foundation I think that Access is building. Yeah, is with our partners and with our agents. Yeah,
we sure are. And I want to, so sometimes, right, Access, what we're doing at Access, I think has a lot of similarities to what you started doing all the way back in 2002. Where you see the real estate agent, we see the real estate agent as the center of the transaction, and we want to surround them with tools and services that serve the consumer at a high level. And sometimes I can think that, oh, this is a new concept. It's not. It's not a new concept. Even by your own admission, you've been doing it for years. And you didn't just do it in Tucson, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Mark Willis and Gary Keller recruited me to Austin, which is where we live now, to start and lead the Strategic Alliance division, Keller Williams, and also to run the vendor network for Keller Williams. At that time, Keller Williams is roughly 700 offices, 100,000 agents. It was a great 4-year run. We were super successful. Ultimately, I saw where the puck was going, and I had a difficult time convincing people in between me and Gary Keller where the puck was going. And when I realized that was the case, that was my cue to go do something else, entrepreneurial.
And you sure did that. Access, we are seeking to be a unified ecosystem that helps keep the real estate agent focused on their core business, serving buyers and sellers, while we operate businesses around them that help them to create additional wealth and revenue, which they can use to invest back into their business, right? To create more leads, to create more buyers and sellers.
Amen. Yep.
And I think that
get the flywheel spinning.
What I really want to spend some time with today is, like, with that not being a new concept, and with you having been in that world in various seats for the better part of 2 decades, 2.5 decades.
Yep. Ouch.
Like, why? Yeah, that was an underhanded. I was just trying to stick it in there.
It landed.
Why do you still see this as I guess where the puck's going?
Well, I think, again, the central perspective is the real estate agent is going to remain the center of the transaction. And I think even the Zillows of the world have, granted, they're doing everything they can, understandably, to become the point of contact with the consumer and sort of control things from a consumer perspective. But ultimately, they have clearly come to the conclusion that in order to deliver the service and actually have a satisfied customer, buyer, seller, real estate, they need real estate agent partners to do that, right? And again, that's our perspective, is the real estate agent is the center of the transaction. They're the ones with the relationship. They're the ones closest to the market. They're the ones that we have chosen to support in structuring our partnerships. Kristen has been very, very vigilant in making sure that she thinks through, along with us, every stakeholder from partner, us, real estate agent, buyers and sellers. They're all served by the relationships that we get into. Yeah. And I think that stands the test of time. I mean, the right partners are going to be able to do what they need to do, make adjustments based upon what's happening in the market, because the market's always changing. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the mortgage business, the property casualty insurance business, the property management business, home warranty business, doesn't matter. All those are complex industries with tons of dynamics, and finding the right partner, selecting the right partner, and structuring the right partnership is essential in making sure that those are businesses that will stand the test of time.
I want to pressure test that a little bit, because we're in the AI revolution, and all of this stuff that's going to take out agents, and I'm not going to sit here and wax eloquent with my opinions, but even with all that going on, does the real estate agent stay the center of the transaction?
Yeah, I believe they do. And I also believe that Access has a role in, again, providing the relationships and infrastructure that help complement the agent in the flow of which they like to do business, want to do business, service their client, the intel inside, if you will.
Yeah, and that it gets me excited to wake up every single day and operating from that principled belief. Go, all right, how do we serve agents? How do we help them do that? What muscle or money or relationship can we bring to the table that allows them to do that better? We haven't gotten everything right, and we're learning every single day. And yet it's also exciting to see. I really feel as though 2026 has been a turning point year where, more than in years past, in my opinion, theory has become reality. And I think that we, having, I'll call it dance together again for another year, like we can just keep moving faster and faster.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to step back real quick and just ask you like a kind of a high level question. As you survey your entire career in the business that you've been in, like, what would you say has been your biggest success, Anthony?
Biggest success. It's funny. I don't reflect a lot on. I'm not trying to dodge your question, but
it's fine. We can reflect here.
I can't. I can't. Well, I guess I would say that all my lessons come from my failures. My real lessons come from my failures.
Can you share one? Would you be open to sharing one?
I got a lot. Well, and I mentioned it about what happened in the run up in the 2000s. Generally speaking, I'll just generalize here to protect the innocent. Following a leader, we're all serving somebody, and we're all in partnership with somebody, and that's just the way the nature of the business world is. Even if you say you're in business for yourself, you're not, right? There's a whole cadre of people that you're dependent upon, you're relying upon. You have to trust those people. You have to like those people. You have to enjoy working with those people. And when I say like, I mean like in the sense that they don't repel you.
I gotcha.
Right? And all my mistakes really, frankly, I could trace them back to me denying that little voice in my head that said, you're in business with the wrong person.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I don't do that anymore. I do not make that mistake anymore. But I made it several times. It doesn't mean they're bad people. That's not what I'm saying. It's just the alignment wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, it's as I hear you say that, I think about a conversation that I had by phone when I was in the property casualty insurance business and had been for a decade. And it's the conversation that caused me to jump ship into real estate. And I don't know where the analogy came from, but her name is Dottie, and Dottie called me up and she challenged me, asking if my ladder was leaning against the right building. And she said something to the effect of, inevitably, David, because of your talents, your natural gifts, yada, 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 whatever she was selling me. But I think she was genuine about it. She said, you have a tall ladder. But are you too focused on running up the ladder that by the time you get to the top, you're going to realize that you haven't leaned against the wrong building?
Yeah, wonderful metaphor.
And I remember going home that night. I was standing in her real estate office, which was one of the top in Maine. And I was working for the top captive insurance agent in New England at the time. And I just could not shake what she said. And it was that conversation that caused me to go like, it wasn't that I was in business with bad people, a bad person. It just wasn't the right person. There was not that attunement to the level that we were like really going to do something special for impact.
Yeah.
And that's what caused me to jump. So like when you say that, when you share that, like it feels just really raw and like meaningful to me. And I think others, I'm sure, can resonate. And if they haven't had that moment, maybe have to come face to face with that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you remember it when, and the other thing I learned is that people have experiences and they say, oh, I had a bad experience, I had a good experience. And oftentimes, if they're like me, not very smart people, they'll say, I must have learned something from that. And I'll just keep going, right? And those people, like me, are inevitable, and they're going to repeat the mistake. They're going to repeat the mistake. The only way you gain the wisdom is to have a really honest reflection on the experience. And that generally requires an external force, a mentor, somebody holding you accountable. And I would say this is like my biggest takeaway that I have, especially for young people, is there's not going to be growth. You're not going to have growth, and you certainly are not going to reach your potential unless you have a mentor and somebody holding you accountable in a loving yet very firm and consistent way. It's not once a year. It's not during some retreat every once in a while you get around to going to, but on a day in, day out basis, who's pouring into you and holding you accountable.
Yeah.
Holding you accountable to yourself, holding you accountable to your own vision for your life, holding you accountable to your own moral compass. Like who's really there. If I would have allowed that in my life, it's not that people didn't try. I just wasn't receptive to it, as receptive as I should have been. I would have been a lot further along much more quickly.
How do you be firm and consistent? Because I would say that both of those words, like those weren't wasted words on your part, right? Like I think a leader with firmness but no consistency produces a product, and consistency without firmness produces a product. How do you get both? Like what does that look like for someone who's holding another person accountable?
Well, clear standards, clear expectations, right? Following a proven process and sticking with it. And not letting people hide from themselves or anybody else. We're all good. People generally are just good at hiding, right? We hide in work, we hide, whatever. We're good at hiding.
Yep.
And again, you need that person who has your best interest at heart, whether it's your boss or whether it's your minister or whether it's just a buddy that you've run into that you really respect and trust. You need that person saying, wait a minute, I'm seeing a lot of inconsistency here. You're saying this and you're doing that. You preach this and you do that. You promise this and you do that. And they're different. Why? Right? That's accountability. Accountability, I learned this definition and I love it. It's observation without judgment. Right? There's no judgment there. Just it's an observation. You've promised this and you did that. Talk to me about that. What's up with that? Why is that? Those are the kinds of pattern breakers that really create progress.
And trust, which is something that you've talked about, if the person will allow it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that firmness and that consistency shows a level of care. And I think at the end of the day, everyone wants to be cared for. And I love that you said we're all good at hiding. I mean, we're conditioned. The first game we learn is hide and seek, right? Like
that's very good. Like
yeah,
that's true.
It's just that is a way of life. And you mentioned even like the spiritual dimension of our life. And I mean, we're always in a sense hiding from accountability and creating complex systems to hide from it.
Yes.
One thing I've learned is like the more words that come out during one of those conversations, the more someone's trying to hide, the less accountable they're being. Like usually it's pretty simple. And you're either going to realize that and go, yeah, you're right, they don't match. Let's say we do need to talk about that. But I just think of like all of the amazing examples in our organization too that we have of people who are good at doing what you just described. Like as you were talking, Anthony, I was thinking specifically about Chase Delperding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Chase is extremely good at helping his agents just hold up. Hey, this is what you said you wanted. This is what I'm seeing. What's the disconnect? Where's that going? Joe Quattrucci has helped so many of our coaches help our agents do that. And I could go on and on and on with leaders in our organization that we're blessed to be in business with, that really that's just what they're doing. Observation without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, like, you had a chance. You were sharing the story. I mean, Chase came into that world at one point, and I'm sure that the way you see the world and the way that you just described that has rubbed off on him. And I guess in a sense, I'm just sitting here too going like, I want to acknowledge the fact that like you've made those deposits into people that are still playing out and rippling out into the organization. And that's really exciting that we get to keep building together, because there is alignment, and not just alignment over the last couple of years, but over the last 20 years, right? And things change, and the economy changes, and market cycles, and technology evolves, and all of this stuff. But there is a thread that I can very, very clearly trace through every company, whether it be KWSA, KWAZ, Catalina Title, on and on and on and on, that has alignment in it. And I think that's our job, is to continue to bring more and more alignment between operators and agents and consumer. That makes it Access exciting to me.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
So
I've gotten a lot more out of those relationships than the other guy. I can tell you.
Both have. I think we both have.
I've learned a lot more from Chase than he learned from me. I can promise you that. I learn a lot more from you than you learned from me. I can promise you. No, but
okay, we're in agreement on the Chase part. Shout out Chase. This episode is sponsored by Chase Delperding.
And Jenny.
Yeah, we can't forget Jenny. Jenny scares me because she's so smart.
She is really very effective.
Yeah, she is.
That's the ultimate compliment, by the way.
Yeah.
I would much rather tell somebody call me effective than smart. She's very effective and smart.
I mean, we were just in a meeting with her yesterday. I was commenting to Kristen. I was just like, man, every time she opens her mouth, something really poignant comes out.
Yeah.
In a great way, in an effective way. I want to transition us. We could sit here for a long time. We actually, today, it just so happens we have a full day of spending time together to keep saying, how do we make Access better for agents and consumers?
Excited about
that. And so for that reason, I want to transition us to the last segment of my show. 3, 2, 1, action. Same 3 questions I've asked every guest since the inception of the show.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, now you're in the hot seat.
I should have watched more podcasts before I came on here.
You should be okay. The first question is, what book has been most impactful on your life and why?
The Man Who Wrestled with God. It's out of print, but it's a wonderful book, and it's the story of Jacob, and I don't have to tell you. You know the story better than I do, but that was a very clear lesson to me that we have to strip it all away and allow God to lead our lives, and that's an easy one for me. that book and that lesson. That was a very easy one for me.
We'll link that in the show notes for sure. Even though it's out of print, I'm sure Bezos has it floating around somewhere on Amazon. Second question, and while it is the same question I've asked, and I guess I have changed it over the last like 10 episodes or so. I used to ask who has been most impactful on your life and why, and allowed you just to share that with me. But the pivot in the question is because I do believe gratitude is the highest form of energy, and it does something for us. It does something for the person who receives it. And so I want you to stop talking to me for a second. And I actually want you to think about who that person is. And I want you to almost, whether they're with us still or not, I want you to thank them and express gratitude for the impact they made on your life. Could you do that for me?
Yeah. Yeah. It's an easy one for me.
Take your time.
Well, it's my parents. My parents. My wife's a close second.
What would you say to your parents?
Oh. I don't want to cry. And I'm going to. So I'm not going to answer that question. Thank you.
Yeah.
And same thing to my wife. My better half, consigliere, far more mature than me. And she has helped me immeasurably in staying on track.
I appreciate you going there. And even without like going deep into saying why, like your response does something, like the people that mean the most and make the most impact on us.
Yeah.
Like we feel it deep in our core. And so, man, I've only learned a few minutes about your parents, and I appreciate the person that they helped churn out.
Thank you.
All right, the third one's not as difficult, Anthony. Azar.
Take it easy. Take it easy on me, man. I'm about to go down.
So, implementation is something that, while we didn't talk about it in this show today, I know it's important to you because ideas are a dime a dozen.
Yes, they are.
It's about execution. It's about taking action and doing something, and then whether it works or not, adjusting and pivoting. You've observed real estate agents specifically for a long time, and that's most of the listeners of this show. Like, if you were to challenge them from your vantage point on where they should just go all in and take action, like what direction are they taking action in? In what area of their business or life are they taking action in? What's like one place that you'd tell them to focus?
Well, I'm not going to say anything original, David, unfortunately. Follow proven systems and models. And there's more than one, right? You can shop all the systems and models and apply the one that most fits your world. But again, I think the big one for me is that have a mentor, somebody holding you accountable that can break through all the shields and defenses that you might be putting up. And everybody has them. It's just human nature. Yep. And the more successful you get, unfortunately, many people have more. And you need somebody to be able to pierce through that and really help you grow. Because unless you're growing as a person, right, that's the lid. The lid on your business is your development.
Yeah.
And once you think you've got it all figured out, that's the beginning of the end for you.
Yeah. The law of the lid.
Law of the lid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. I have thoroughly enjoyed spending time with you this morning.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
There's been a lot of great lessons.
You're kind to say that. Thank you for having me.
You should come over from Austin more often.
I'd be delighted.
If people did want to connect with you, right? Maybe there's agents in our world who for the first time are actually like, oh, when David says Anthony, or when Kristen alludes to this guy out in Austin, Texas, like that's who she's talking about. How do people get in touch with you? Where do they find you? How do they connect with you?
I encourage them to reach out to me. If you want, I can, put my email and telephone number.
What's your email?
Anthony at accessnetwork.us.
Perfect.
And phone number, it's still a Tucson number, 520-241-8760.
Can take the boy out of Tucson, but you can't take Tucson out of the boy.
There you go.
There you go. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and as we've said, as it's become clear, I mean, we get to work together in the Access Network. AccessNetwork.us is our website. If you want to learn more about what we're doing to create opportunities for real estate agents, particularly agents who are okay being in a world of accountability. On all fronts, accountability to grow their real estate business, accountability to help our partners succeed. Like that's, I think, our North Star, like that type of person. And so if you listen to this and that sounds like you, then reach out to Anthony at accessnetwork.us. Reach out to me, David, at accessnetwork.us. Go to our website, explore what our platform could do for you in your real estate business. And just see if you're in the right place with the ladder leaned up against the right building. Anthony, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much.
This has been another episode of Real Talk with David. I hope you implement this. I hope you take these lessons to heart. And like I always like to say, go play all in.